All right, let's check. Let me check on my on the Facebook. Yeah, we live yet? Oh yeah, we're live now. All right, let's let me share on my just give me a sec. Let me share it. All right, done. Good good afternoon to my Aussie friends, and good evening and good morning wherever you are. So today we have a good friend of mine, Jodie Andrews. She's going to share some fantastic tips on how to take photos for newborn babies, both indoors or on location. A little bit about her: she's 3 times Australian photographer of the year in the row, and she's also been everywhere in the Sony annual events. Also, she has been on Channel 7 sharing her tips with children photography. So can't wait, and I'll can't wait for the presentation and leave Jojo to talk about her information.
All right, so we'll get straight into it, I suppose. Have you got the slides up?
Oh yeah, I'll bring that up.
Thank you.
Right.
Awesome. So I am a newborn maternity and family photographer. I thought I'd just show you a little career snapshot of things that I've done over the years since I began photography. I began in 2009. I had a love of newborn photography, and so I just I'll go into how I got into it further along, but I started photographing newborns, and then I never felt that I was because I didn't have an official degree, I didn't feel that I was good enough, and so I started entering competitions to sort of, even though I had a very busy business, I still wanted to be respected by my peers and make sure that I was doing everything correctly. So I started entering competitions. I started entering in 2013, and I didn't do very well that year. I went back and reassessed all the things that I was doing. So even though you had a thriving business, I didn't stack up award-wise. So then I went back and reassessed all the things that I was doing in my work and started to relook at everything. And 2014, I ended up becoming a finalist for the family category and the creative category in the New South Wales State Awards. And then flash forward 2017, 2018 and 2019, I became an Australian Newborn Photographer of the Year. And since then, I've become a judge for international competitions, an international educator, and an expert educator for Sony Australia. So there's lots been happening there. I've had some TV appearances and guest speaking for Asia WPA. Yeah, so lots has sort of transpired over the years. Go to the next slide. So how did it all start? Well, I was on a music scholarship at boarding school, and I always had a love for photography. I had that signed up from my year 11 and 12 electives, and my parents decided to pull me out in year 11 and send me off to business college. And I was absolutely devastated because I had photography lined up for my year 11, 12 electives. And so I had kids and whatnot and started my career. And then I ended up, saw a friend was a newborn photographer, and I reached out to her, and she mentored me through the process of becoming a newborn photographer. And it just sort of transpired from there. I was really lucky because when I moved to the Central Coast, I just started my career, and it just exploded. There was only about 3 newborn photographers here on the coast, and I was inundated with work. My name became very popular. I couldn't go anywhere without anyone knowing my name. Like, they're just like, oh my God, you're the Jodie Andrews. It was got a bit embarrassing at one point, but that's because there was no other people doing what I was doing in my area. So I guess that's how it all sort of started, and I've worked my butt off ever since, and now I've got a thriving business, and keeps me very comfortable in life. So you're a complete beginner, and where do you start, and what recommendations do you have? Let me just get my notes. Okay, so I guess you need to get lighting equipment. That's the first thing that you need, and a camera. So get a camera, basic equipment, start looking at the way that light falls on subjects, get yourself a doll. It's just a cheap doll. It doesn't have to be anything expensive, and practice your wrapping. And the more that you practice those techniques, you will get better and better at it. Look at the way that light's falling on the baby's face, and that sort of, it's just practice, really. Before you even think about bringing clients into your space, you need to understand newborn safety. So babies can't be left unattended. You can't turn your back on them. You should always be within arm's reach of them, or have someone in arm's reach of them. It's really, really important. I've seen time and time again that so many people just sort of forget that babies can move really, really quickly out of a position. So that's probably the most important thing, is baby safety. You want to also make sure that you're not doing things before you're ready to do it. So start with very, very basic wrapped poses, and then get that right, and then move on to the next. So it takes time. You're not going to pick it up immediately. Babies you can have a really great baby, and then you can have a really shocking baby. So even now I still get them. So it's just part and parcel, and it's just being very, very patient with and it just your demeanor also, I think, comes out in the sessions a little bit. So if you're relaxed, the baby's relaxed. And yeah, just keep on practicing. Make sure you're getting it right. Then maybe invite friends and families, babies, have a practice with those. Again, starting very, very simple poses and just building on those poses and making sure you're getting them right. There's plenty of Facebook groups out there as well that you can jump on. Ask other photographers what they think, feedback of your images. And yeah, just keep on practicing. There's plenty of photographers out there that is able to give you advice. Reach out to me if you want to. I'm happy to help. Can be a bit busy, but I will reply to everyone. So yeah, just keep on trying. So, all right. So now that you've got basis, someone's contacted you and said, I want to have a photo shoot. Now, the biggest thing that I learned when my parents pulled me out of school and I went off to business college, I learned that most of our photography side is running a business. It's not actually shooting. So you need to make sure you have the correct systems in place to be able to manage that business. Because like I said before, my business suddenly took off overnight, and I didn't have the tools to manage it in place. It took a while, and now my systems is a well-oiled machine. So I have a client management software that basically handles all my bookings for me automatically. It sends out quotes to clients based on the questions that they ask me. I don't do anything. And then it has this workflow through it. So I've set all of those up in the background. So based on all those questions, it'll send them specific emails. As part of that, it sends them a questionnaire asking them about their session, and so we might ask them the color choices that they like, how many people are coming to the session, the names and ages of every child that's coming to the session. So I'm completely prepared. When they turn up at my front door, I know exactly who's coming and what ages, and I've got everything set up and ready to go. I don't want any surprises. So then they come into the studio and we photograph the session. And then on the same day, we actually go through and they choose their images at the same session straight afterwards. Now, the reason that I do that is because I have had many an image stolen over the years, and I don't want my images stolen. So but not only that, we also are able to do things a lot quicker. So by choosing them, I think I saved like a week or something by having the clients choose on the day. So you don't need any particular software to do it. I just use Lightroom, and we just bring it all up on the screen, and they go through and select. Now, the best part about being able to do that is all my lights look. Sorry, start that again. Because I use good lighting, my photos look good straight out of camera. So I don't edit anything before they see it. I let them choose it exactly as it is, and I only edit what they choose. And that really does come down to good lighting and consistent lighting. It's not changing all the time. So a lot of natural light photographers have to adjust things beforehand. So it's just easier for me to do that. What else? And then after that, so the sneak peek that usually goes up on my Facebook page is 99% of the time one of the images that the clients have chosen. And so again, I'm not wasting time editing something that's not purchased. We also have our own printing equipment, so I print everything in-house, and that also makes it a little bit more efficient as well. So, yeah. All right, next. So the basic equipment that you need to start, just in general. So I use a Sony A7R III, and yes, I am due for an upgrade, but it's doing the job. So, and I also use a 50mm and a 70-200. I just use them for everything. So the choice of light will depend on whatever you're doing on the day. And I usually use a light meter as well to just make sure I'm getting everything correctly. Okay, so that was just an overall specific equipment list. For newborn photography, I have a variety of props, and it can become rather addictive in the things that you have to buy all the time because there's so many pretty things out there for newborn sessions. But the basics that you need is stretchy wraps. Now, these are, see how stretchy it stretches? This one stretches both ways, and it's quite long, probably maybe 2 meters in length. So that's my sort of base wrap that I would start the newborn sessions with. And then I might use a pretty wrap over the top of that. So this is like a fluffy wrap. It's not quite as stretchy, but there is a little bit of stretch in it, so I can get things nice and tight. You probably need a bean bag. I mean, you could use a bed if you wanted to. You could use a dog's bed as well. They're quite popular. But something that is ideal that you can stretch the blankets around and clamp them off. But if you were desperate, you could use a bed and then clamp it to like a doona cover underneath if you needed to. I often use cloth nappies. So just the terry toweling diapers. And they're good for, I'm a bit old school, I use them for posing underneath babies, but also cleaning up like any wheeze and poos and vomits and all that sort of stuff. And also posing beans. These come in a variety of shapes and sizes. I'm not partial to any particular person who sells them, but they're usually pretty good. I like it fairly firm so that it doesn't sink when you pose the baby on it. You need a backdrop, some backdrops, or if you've got nice floors or something like that, you can use that. Just fabric from your local fabric store will be fine, or there's plenty of suppliers that you can get printed backdrops from. We have a big printer, so I just design my own backdrops and print them off on poly paper. For newborn sessions, I generally use a 50mm or a 35mm lens, but I chop and change a bit, so I can't commit to one, but I generally use the 50. Am I doing okay, Aries?
You're doing great.
Hopefully I'm not just giving you too much information there. Okay, so maternity sessions and family sessions. I generally will take along a blanket for them to sit on. That is so, like, if you've got a child that doesn't like sitting on the ground or the grass, it might be some kids can be a bit funny about that sort of stuff. They're a bit sensitive, or there's some insects in the ground that you haven't seen. Laying a little blanket on the ground for them to sit on is usually good. That blanket can also be used to wrap around the clients for posing, or it can be used just to keep them warm if the weather changes whilst you're there. I typically use a 70 to 200 lens when I'm photographing outdoors. It's my favourite. But if I'm in studio, I'll use a 50mm. And I generally take along probably 3 maternity gown choices as well. So, all right. So there's quite a few Godox lights out there, and you're not sure which one to choose. So I'm just going to run through a couple of them so we can sort of go through them. So the AD200, AD100 Pro, and the V1, they're all great lights. They're very compact, they're easy to take out, and you can get the pop-up soft boxes as well. So, and a little light stand, and they're your best friend, and you can go out into location. I find that these work really well in more shady sort of locations, not full sunlight. I typically don't shoot in full sunlight, but I've actually created a couple of videos which shows you how much sun is actually coming onto the baby in the next video anyway. But yes, they're great in terms of if you're photographing a wedding or anything like that as well, and you just want to just duck out into location and it's quite shady, you can just put a bit of light in there. Okay, so have you got the video there, Aries?
Yes.
Okay, so just before we do, so this is a...
you want me to play the video first?
Not yet, just a second. So this is a AD200 Pro. We were in partial shade. We were meant to be in full shade, but the client turned up late, so it kind of threw a bit of spin in the works. But we kept photographing, and it was fine, as you can see by the photos. But it just gives you an example of, you can see the lighting position as to where the baby is, and you can see how much sun is actually falling onto the baby as well. So you can hit play, Aries.
Yep. Can I play now?
Yep.
Okay.
So it's only very short, but it gives you an idea of where the light position was and how much was there. Okay, we'll go back to the slide. Okay, so the next one is the AD200 Pro. Using a tree, so it's 11 o'clock in the morning, and just using the canopy shade for this. Now this also, actually no, just hit play, Aries.
So while you're speaking, there's a question from Thea.
Yep.
I think it's a perfect question when we discuss about AD200, right? Because it comes with both heads. Yeah, the Fresnel and yeah.
So I didn't have a scrim on that either in those videos. Actually, in all the 3 that's there. It depends on the situation, I suppose. I don't mind shooting bare bulb. I will do whatever I need to do to get the shot. So if it's not working for me, then I'll just change over to bare bulb.
Personally, I always go for bare bulb because if it's Fresnel, it's always designed for small modifiers. Does it make sense? The light is almost designed to go forward with a certain direction rather than like a bare bulb. It goes almost like 100-degree kind of semi-sphere. So theoretically, you will have some hotspots in the softbox with a Fresnel, and with bare bulb you wouldn't have such issue. That's my personal opinion, though. Yeah.
Just full disclaimer, I'm not a technical photographer either, so
no, I've just been answering too many of those kind of questions. Yeah, because Taya didn't say what that purpose is for, so I wouldn't be, And how many diffusion are you using, right? If you use only one layer of diffusion with a softbox, like lots of photographers do outdoors, you will almost certainly have a hotspots. But if you're only into, if you use double diffusion, even in theory, you will have a hotspot. In practice, not so much. So it really depends, isn't it? It's not only about the softbox and the light. It's also about how you use the softbox too, right?
Yep. All right, we'll go to the next one. Okay, so we'll hit play on this video. This one's a little bit longer, but you can sort of see me posing. So it was quite a warm day as well.
I love the
so
bird.
in the this is my new property as well, so starting to get used to it. I didn't have the space to shoot outside before, this is nice. So in the front of that bucket, I've actually got multiple of the cloth nappies, these things, just all rolled up like snakes and then just built up in the front. I probably needed one more in there, but I still made it work. That didn't finish.
Oh, sorry, that didn't finish?
No.
Oh, sorry.
That's all right.
Oh, yeah.
So baby still had her nappy on as well and still wrapped up. I try to keep the nappy on as much as possible these days, to be honest. Can be a very messy job. So I'm just pulling the stuffing out to make sure I'm getting it underneath her elbows. So you'll see that I actually put my thumb in sort of underneath her, sort of put it in like that underneath her face to try and keep her face from pulling down. Fixing fingers.
Good afternoon, Kojima-san. We'll have some friends here.
And I've constantly got my hand on her. See, as I look away, I've still got my hand on her to make sure that she's secure. She's not going to jump. I'm within arm's reach of her at all times. And the mum was just off to the side as well. I'm humming at her to try and calm her down because she was a little bit fussy. And I'm just fixing little fingers. That's it. We'll go to the next one. So this is the same day, but in the afternoon at a different location. I happened to have wildflowers on that afternoon, and the baby was pretty good in the morning. So I said to them, why don't you come down and meet me? And we'll try and get some open shade shots for them. So we've just got one. It's very quick, but it does show you in the video me wrapping. So I thought that might be helpful, and it'll just show you very quickly at the end my lighting position for this photo. So I was doing this very, very quickly because it turned really cold. So I left baby like fully dressed and just wrapped over the top. That's mum coughing, by the way. Just wrapping around the baby, pulling it sort of down at the back to try and secure the bubs in. And I'm making sure that the hands are sort of here and there's a gap so that the fabric's not too tight and it's not cutting off circulation. Working with babies outdoors is not easy. I definitely prefer it inside the studio. So it's definitely adding wind and the elements definitely adds a extra challenge to it. But I do enjoy the end result. So just wrapping a prettier layer over the top. So the first one was like that real stretchy fabric. And then this is just a scarf that I've got. It was in those yellow sort of tones. She's just grizzling because it's windy. Alright, I'm going to pass it to Mum. Yep. I'll just get everything set up. There's Dad standing on the other side of that bucket. I don't know if you can see it in the shot. We didn't get a lot of footage, but just above my arm, can you see my cursor moving, Aries?
No, I can't.
Oh, okay. Just above my arm, there is actually the soft box. So it's similar position to what we were doing earlier, but I thought the wrapping side would give you an idea of how I wrap. All right. Now, so I really there's a new trend that's going around, and I'm nervous to join the bandwagon, but I am interested. I do really like the photos, but it's this boho sort of style. As you can see, I've set up my bed in the background and whatnot, where I can pose clients on. And so I've I've just recently moved, and we've moved out to acreage. We've got 12 beautiful acres, and I've got this lovely studio space, but it's slightly different to what I previously had. And so I went to Godox and I said, what have you got that I can create a light wall with? Hi. And so I went to them and asked them, and they suggested the FL150R, which is a flexible light. And I figured that if I got a couple of these panels, so at least I've got 4 of them. I've got 3 working at the moment. I've actually misplaced during the move one of the panels. So I've got, the power packs. But 3 seems to be working quite well for me. And I've set up a bed and this window, which I'm going to show you in a minute, to create this boho sort of look. Now, the advantage of that is that I'd previously tried, there's like an LED light panel. You get the ceiling lights and you attach them to these fluorescent or ceiling lights that you attach to this timber stand. But I found that it was quite cumbersome. There's only 30 watts of power per panel, so it wasn't overly strong. And yeah, I just found it really cumbersome, and it wasn't going to work in my new studio. So I got these, and I'm really, really happy with it. I'm very excited. I'll go to the next slide. So this is how I've set it up in my studio. So because they're so lightweight, I've just literally got Velcro behind the panels, just a little bit of strong Velcro. And I don't know if you can see them, but where the curtain rod goes through, there's clips you can get from Bunnings or a hardware store, and they're also just stuck on the wall, and then I can just pop in my curtain rod. So nothing's actually screwed in. It's very DIY, easy to use. And what I like is that I can just use my remote and just turn them all on at one time. So I've just turned it on then, or I can just turn them all off. So I can also control my color balance as well, so I can make it warmer or cooler with them. But I'm really, really excited about these. They're fantastic. So the 3 is working for me. I'd love to find my actual other power pack and get the 4th one going. So yeah. So if anyone's looking for, if they've got no space and a dark studio that they want to create something like this for, I'd highly recommend getting the FL150. Yeah. All right, we'll go next. So the FV150. Sorry, there was a question that popped up before. What was that, Aries, about flash? Yeah, okay. So I will go into that question. So FV150 is a continuous light. There's no flash. It's really great for parents not having to see, like I suffer with migraines, so having a continuous flash going in the background is like my sessions are 3 hours long. So having a flash going off continuously for 3 hours would be really, really annoying. So look, there's a time and place for everything, but I love my continuous light. It doesn't mean that I'm anti-flash. I will use flash. It just depends on the circumstances. If there's a heap of people, like lots of people attending, I might change it over to be a flash because it's not quite as much power in the continuous light. But yeah, for newborn photography, I really love the 150 or the FV200, either or. And yeah, well, hopefully that answers that. But it's also great for people who are natural light photographers and they're just starting to get used to sort of making that transition to studio lighting, because they can actually see where the light's falling really easily. Yeah. What you see is what you get. All right, so the AD600 Pro, I've also got that. I started with that one actually before I used the continuous lights, but I thought I'd just touch on it really quickly. It's all battery operated. It's very portable. It's light. You can take it outside, and it's great for fast moving toddlers. So Christmas sessions where I'm in a hurry and I've got lots of kids running around and I don't know how many people are coming in. Let's say I might have one family might be 2 people and the next family might be 6. So I'm just going to use my AD600 Pro for that. And yeah, so if I've got a child that is not cooperating, I might use the trigger on the camera just to get them to engage with me. So let's make it like a game. So I get them to push the trigger on the camera, it flashes, and I'm like, okay, my turn, and then I have a go. And that's when I get that shot. And then I'll go back and let them have another turn. So it's a reward system, so and sharing. So it can kind of be a little bit fun. All right. So next we've got a couple of little videos of just my lighting placement in terms of positions. So most of my beanbag shots, it's set up the same way. So the light's slightly angled in towards the baby. It's not directly parallel. All right. We'll go to the next one.
Next video or next PPT?
We can go to the next slide, and then we'll go to the next video. Okay. And baby on their back. Yep, next video. So with the posing doll, it doesn't turn its head quite the same way, but that's basically the angle that I would have. Might tilt it more, coming down the baby a little bit more, if depending on where the head is. So you've just got to start watching your lighting and adjust accordingly. The most important thing is that you're not shooting the light up the baby's nose, which is like getting a torch and shining it underneath your nose. It's not very flattering. And often, even with the boho setup, they face the baby towards the light in the arm, sort of this way, towards the light, and you can see up the baby's nose, whereas try and change the baby's position so it's more upright and still have it on that side, or turn the head the other direction and just open it up a little more towards the light. Does that make sense, Aries?
That sounds like makes sense to me.
Yes, okay. Hopefully everyone else.
Absolutely.
I'm speed talking. All right. So next one. All right. So
I guess it's yeah.
Power from cannula. Yes. For newborn photography, I'm only really sure it's like shooting 1 to 2 subjects, maybe 3. It's not a problem. And I don't use high ISOs or anything like that. It's all really rather low. So the only issue would be if you're in a very bright room. If you have a lot of light that comes into your studio, you might have a bit of an issue there, but I'd probably use the AD600 Pro for that. But if it's a fairly sort of darkish room, it's not an issue. Blinds and curtains.
I guess normal home you can easily overpower the
that's right.
The indoor lights by just using the LED. Yeah, unless natural light comes in, you can always close your curtain.
That's right. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll play the next one. So it's just sort of feathering across the baby in that shot. And so, yeah, and I use that same position if I was doing any sitting sessions or cake smash sessions. It's typically that angle that I would use. Okay, so I guess the key to running an easy newborn session, make sure that the baby is well fed when they arrive. So as soon as they come in, make sure you ask them whether they're when were they last fed, because that gives you an idea of roughly your time frame of when you're going to need to stop and feed again. If you're getting pretty close to a feeding time, I'd suggest that they feed the baby first. And then what we do is we start with wrapped poses first. And how I also lay my studio out is I set all my props out. So I'm all ready to go as soon as they arrive in. And I just move from one to the next, to the next, to the next. I'm not stopping and setting things up. I've got enough space to be able to do that. Otherwise, you can have all your props all set up in the corner and just pull them out individually. But make sure you've got everything that matches. Your headband matches all your props that you've got. Have it all there ready to go, so you're not wasting time looking for things. I think also if you start pulling things out of the cupboard, the client's like, oh, I really like that blanket. Can I use that blanket? And then you've got to find a whole new setup and new headband to match. And like it takes time to set all these things up. So I spend about an hour or so before the client arrives getting everything ready to go. So when they arrive, it's ready. I start with wrapped poses, and I might do 3 prop shops that are wrapped. And I gradually am taking off layers of the wrapping. So I wrap the first stretchy wrap, then I might wrap the second stretchy wrap, and then I'll eventually unwrap as I go. So the baby's nice and sleepy by the time I get to the beanbag poses. Before I hit the beanbag pose, depending on how that baby's going, I might do the toddler session. Depending on that toddler, if it's engaged and interested, it's only going to be interested for a little bit of time. So I will try and get that shot then. If the child isn't quite keen yet and still warming up, I might move on to beanbag poses and then come back to the child shot. You just got to keep in mind that often the kids are 2 years old and they're going to want to have a nap during the day and they're going to get whingy. So you're probably better off, if the moment that they're engaged and they're cooperative, try and get that shot. And then, do beanbag poses, and then I will come back and do the family poses at the end. And the baby can be unwrapped or wrapped for those. I'm not worried. If the baby
doesn't matter. The parents loved it anyway.
That's exactly right. So it's just about getting that shot. All right. The slide's got a bit funny, but so newborn sessions generally go for 3 hours. Some might be 2 hours. Some might, generally it's 3. It's not usually longer than 3. And then we select the images afterwards, probably about 15 minutes of selecting images. Sitter sessions generally go for 20 minutes. Babies at that age for sitter session and cake smash sessions, you've got very limited time before they lose interest. So we get it done as quickly as possible. And I probably overshoot a little bit because I think the parents sometimes think, oh, that's gone so quickly compared to my newborn session. But it's just what it is. And I just try and get as many variety as I can before they lose interest, and then we go through and we choose all the photos. Maternity sessions are 30 to 45 minutes. I like the parents to feel very comfortable when they come into the session. Often with maternity, you're asking them to strip down to almost nothing, and sometimes it's a little bit nice to just give them that time to feel comfortable with you. A lot of the times they haven't been photographed before, and so they just need that warm-up time. So 30 to 45 minutes is generally, I find, gives a little bit of time to sort of get them used to it, and then we just keep taking items off and changing outfits and whatnot. So, and it helps me gauge how comfortable they are by their reactions as well. Often I will also ask on that note, parents for maternity sessions, if they've seen examples of things that they like, other photographers' images and my images, it doesn't matter, to send me through what they might like, because it gauges, it shows me what type of photography they're interested in. And what else? Family sunset sessions. I usually start 1 hour prior to sunset. It's probably only 45 minutes, but it gives me a little bit of time just in case they're late with the traffic. Oh, that's better. I can actually read my writing. If they're late with30 you know, I can't stop the sun from setting, so I try and say an hour, and yeah, 30 to 45 minutes, and we're all finished. Yeah.
Very efficient.
I feel like I've just talked like so much. So I'm sorry if I have just given too much information all in one hit very, very quickly.
Yeah. All right. So I think we have already pretty much answered all the questions during the session, because most of the questions are very tightly relevant with the slides. So guys, if you just follow Jodie on her Instagram, that'll be Jodie Andrews Photography, right?
Yep.
Just follow her on her Instagram. If you have any question, or DM her, like, you know, she will get back to you. She's quite busy, obviously, during the day as a full-time newborn photographer, but she will get back to you whenever she's back to her computer. If there's no more question, thank you so much. And this is Aristal. I will see you guys in the next broadcast. Bye.
Awesome. Thank you. Bye.